T minus 30 seconds. T minus 20 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Are you a woman in need of wisdom? Do you sometimes battle with separating who you are now versus who you feel like you ought to be? Do you question God's plan for your life? Is there a sense of uncertainty in the areas of choosing healthy relationships? Hi, I'm Nadira, your life and impact coach. In becoming a woman of Proverbs, it is my desire to help you grow into the woman that God has designed you to be. We offer short videos with moments of wisdom for any circumstance using the Word of God. No matter what it is, we are here for you. Make sure you download the app today.
All right. Hello. Good evening. Welcome to Sisterhood Check-In. I am your inspirational life and mentality coach, Nadira Lewis, and I'm glad that you are joining us this evening. I'm excited because my Thanksgiving was amazing. It was my first time ever having to go have Thanksgiving without my daughter, with her living in California. So, yeah, I was having a little moment, but I'm excited to be back. Excited to be able to talk with my guest today. She has an awesome testimony. We tried to do this a couple of weeks ago and we had some technical difficulties, but thank God everything is working out. So without further ado, we are going to bring in Shadonica, or should I say Coach Shadonica Williams. Hi, Shadonica.
Hello, how are you?
Or should I say Coach Shadonica?
Yes, ma'am.
How
The
are
glow
you?
up coach.
The glow up coach. Hey,
Hey,
I know that's right. How was your Thanksgiving?
it was wonderful. It was wonderful.
Good.
Really
Got
good.
to
Really
spend some
good.
time with your family and stuff.
Yes, yes. Nice
So,
and chill. Nice and chill. Of course, everybody's social distancing. So,
yeah. Yeah, we kind of social distance, except for my 3 and 6-year-old. I don't know how much of a social distance they adhered to, but it was, this was my first year without my oldest daughter. So she's in California. So this was pretty new for me. So I was I was in my feelings a little
you
bit,
was you was in your heart, just in your heart,
Yeah.
just a little bit.
I have her and my son-in-law. I'm like, we always spend our Thanksgivings together. So this year was very different. And so I was a little, we just kind of just laid around the house. We didn't even do a whole lot. We were in our PJs all day and we just ate and rest
Yeah, yeah.
and shop.
And that's a good thing. That's a good thing. Rest is always a good thing.
It is. It is in its place. It is in
Yes.
its place. So, Shadonica, I know we tried to do a broadcast some weeks ago and we had so many different technical issues, but you know what? I'm grateful that you accepted my invitation to come back and
I'm
do it
glad
again.
you asked. Yes.
Thank you. So
This is amazing what you're doing, by the way. This is
Thank
awesome.
you. Thank you. I'm encouraged doing it. I used to be very camera shy in terms of speaking in the midst of a bunch of people, but I tell you, the more I get to doing this social media thing, the better I feel, the more I grasp the reason or the why behind why I do it. It actually helps me to push past the fear and the anxiety of, oh my gosh, what am I going to look like? What I'm going to this? And I realize, you know what? the why is what's keeping me pushing and keeping me motivated to just say, you know what, do it and do it afraid.
Yes.
Do it when you don't feel like you're going to be perfect on the show. Do it when you feel like you don't know what you're going to talk about. But it's I'm always excited and look forward. Every time 9:30 come, I just get all revved up and I'll be like, uh-oh, like dancing to my theme song. Go,
Right.
go, go.
Yeah.
And I love it because it's, I'm inspired by it because it just
Mhm.
motivates me to just keep going, keep pushing, keep moving.
Yes.
Because I remember when in my time frame, when I was, in my moments, of discouragement, I know, we used to have, especially when I was a part of one ministry, we would have ladies ministry, and, we would have the opportunity for us to be able to bond and connect. But since now we're in the industry now where everybody is social distancing, and so it's
Mhm.
like you don't get to see you know your friends like you want to. You don't get to see your family like you want to. So this has not been a ray of hope to others, but it's definitely been an encouragement to me too. So I'm looking
Mhm.
forward to you sharing. I know your story. I listened to, during the last broadcast of me, we talked regardless of whether the show continued or not. But you had a really awesome testimonial about where you got to where you are now, or how you got to
Mhm.
where you are now. And I really felt that it was important to bring you back so that you can share with other women that may be going through a lot of different things, because this is a check-in. This is a
Yeah.
check-in. We want to check in with different women, and we want to talk about what journey you've been through that help you to become the person that you are. So
Mhm.
I'm really excited to be able to talk, to hear about your testimony. I don't know where my camera went. My camera sometimes it just I tell you, it's coming back. It's coming back. Hold on a minute. Let me try to bring it.
Technology. Technology.
Technology. Okay, there we go. There we go. Okay. I got to figure out a way to put do not disturb on here, because sometimes you get these calls that come in and sometimes it just interferes. But so share with us and the people that are listening, what, first of all, talk about who you are. Let's get to know who Shadonica is. So as far back as you want to share, help us understand what caused this glow up.
Okay. Well, first of all, hello everyone. My name is Shadonica Williams, aka the Glow Up Coach. And the glow in that stands for growing and learning our worth.
Mm-hmm.
And this was something that came to me actually probably over 10 years ago, actually, in the middle of the night. Like I woke up at like 3 in the morning and I just started writing. And glow just came to me, like growing and learning our worth. And I just think that is just really important, something really important for women, to recognize and get in tune with self. And so
Mm-hmm.
it all became about, because I was going through a self-discovery and realizing that I needed to do some work. And it actually came because I was trying to do a vision board, and my
Mm-hmm.
vision board didn't work. And I was so excited because it was like the craze was going, and I got so excited. I ordered me a little kit off Amazon, and I was ready, collecting magazines and everything. And I was had everything spread out on the floor, and I was just ready, have my glue sticks ready. And I couldn't do anything. Like I just couldn't put anything on there because, and then I heard voices was like, Shadonica, you can try to manifest all these things, all these material things, and all these things into your life. But if your foundation isn't right, you're not going to be able to maintain them. So I
Mm-hmm.
gathered everything up, put everything, shoved everything back away, and I went back to the store and I bought my own board. And I got some envelopes and some index cards and some post-its and markers and everything. And I just started going through old journals and checking out my own patterns, and
Mm-hmm.
realized that I had to do some work on me. So I started digging deep and going
Mm-hmm.
deep, inside of me, and figuring out, okay, what are the things that you need to work on? And so I started working on like my time management was a big deal, getting my relationship closer with God, was a big deal, family issues, doing to-do lists instead of, I changed it to a today list because I'm the type of person that'll do a to-do list and I'll put everything in the free world that I need to do on there, like everything in my whole life that I need to do on there, and nothing will get done. So I just started committing to doing, this is what I'm going to do today. And then for years, I've always been the person that people come to for advice or, help with career choices and things like that. And so I decided to become a certified coach, and I did. And I created this, I call my glow up blueprint. And it just started catching on, and so I just started sharing it with other people and sharing my testimony with other people. A lot of people that don't know, they don't know that I was a battered wife at the age of 13. And so even before then, like I was molested at the age of 6. I became a foster child at the age of 8. I became a wife at the age of 13 and a battered wife at that. And so also I'm an 8th grade dropout, but was able to grow from all of that. I was able to, become the woman that I am right now because of all of that. And I'm really excited to share my testimony with anybody, who is having issues with self-work, having issues with self-worth, and all of those things. And so I just decided to put it in a story. And I was co-author of a book called Womb Sister Chronicles. I'm in volume 3. And I shared my story about being a wife at 13 and being a battered wife at 13 and getting away at 15 with nothing but the clothes on my back, and then just growing from there, just taking on, life from there. So
wow.
Yeah.
I think you said you were a battered wife at 13. How did you become a wife at the age of 13? I mean, I know the story, but help our viewers understand that process of being a wife at 13.
Yes. Well, my mother signed papers for me at the time.
Wow.
My then boyfriend, soon to be husband after that, he was 17, and he came up with this wonderful idea. We was in love, and he came up with this wonderful idea because I was really going through a lot living with my mother at the time because she was addicted to drugs and in an abusive relationship, and I wasn't really being taken care of. And he came along and took care of me. He picked up the slack. And so he put it to my mother in a way that made it sound like this was going to be the best thing for me, and he ended up getting his GED and going into the military and going to basic training. And when he came back from basic training, she signed papers for me to get married, and we got married.
Yeah. Wow. At 13. Wow. So what was it like being a wife at the age of 13? I mean, you're just, for most young girls, you're starting your menstrual cycle. Like, how are you at a point where you're ready to be somebody's husband? I mean, at 13, I think about myself at the age of 13, and heck, I was like still wearing beads in my hair. Like I was still playing catch a girl, get a girl, like hopscotch. Like, how do you transition from a young kid, from just putting Barbie doll barely under the bed to becoming a wife? What was that experience like for you?
For me, it was more of a survival thing. Because at the time, I mean, there was days when I didn't know if I was going to eat. There was days I didn't know if I was going to make it to school. And, he just kind of came in and just picked up that slack. Like, he was making sure I got my hair done. He was making sure I made it to school. He was making sure I ate every day. So it was like, and he just made it sound so great. And I'm looking at it like, nobody else is doing it. Like, I'm special. Like, I'm looking at it like I'm special. Nobody else is doing it. And I didn't really have another alternative at the time. So it was like, it was either going to be that, or I was going to try to make it work where I was with my mom, who was just pretty much out of her mind at the time. So it was just like,
Mm-hmm.
either I was going to try to figure this out right here and either probably end up on the streets or homeless or something like that, or okay, he said he want to take me away and take care of me for the rest of my life, and okay, great. Like, I mean, who doesn't want to be where they're going to be taken care of? You know, even at
Right.
13, you know, I had the presence of mind to go, okay, he's taking care of me better than my mom at
Mm-hmm.
this point in my life, and he's making these promises, and so I'm like, okay, I at the time I just really felt like I didn't have any other option. Just no.
Wow. Oh, wow.
And
So,
he taught me everything. Like when
mm,
it came to learning how to cook, you
wow.
know, take care of a home, pay bills and things like that. Like he ran it all down to me that this is how it's supposed to go. He was in the kitchen teaching me how to cook. I mean, the man, he even learned how to put a relaxer in my hair at the time to do
What?
my hair. Yes, yes.
Oh my
So it was
God.
like, okay, I'm taken care of. Like I'm taken care of. And then
Wow.
one argument, and it was like, boom, my whole world just blew up. You know, I got hit for the
Mm,
first time, and I was just like, wow, like I didn't know that could happen. Like,
mm,
yeah, and it just kind of went on from there. You know, of course, you know, he would apologize and say he's never going to do it again, but then something else would happen, and then we would be into it again. Where it got to a point where I could tell that we were going to fight just by the way he walked in the door. Like
mm.
when you go through stuff like that, you know, there's certain things that you start to pick up on
Yeah.
and to recognize, you know, and I was also abused as a child. So I had already kind of had that in the back of my mind, the things to look for and, you know,
Mhm.
what was going to happen and how things were going to go down. So I would know, like I would just know by the way he came in if we were going to fight
Oh, wow.
or not.
That's a lot. Like, I'm like holding my breath just listening to you. Like I can't even imagine at that age being able to have endurance to be able to. I mean, there's a ray of emotions that I'm feeling at the moment, and I want to go into a little bit more about it, but I want to take a quick 30 second commercial break, give you a chance to kind of regroup because you gave us a lot so that you can embrace yourself for the next half. So we'll see you in 30 seconds.
All right.
All right, we are back with Sisterhood Check-In, and we have with us today the Glow Up Coach, Shadonica Williams. And before we went into commercial break, Shadonica, you shared with us the intensity of what you went through in a marriage as a 13-year-old. And I know you started to share about, you know, some of the things about how you felt. And you started to mention about the abuse and everything that you went through in that marriage at 13. What kind of started what was the trigger? What was a triggering point? And I say that because someone, you know, were there any signs or anything like that? Because one thing I've realized is that when you are in a toxic relationship, a lot of times there are signs that are just woo, 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 woo,
Mm-hmm.
woo.
Mm-hmm.
And at 16, 17, 18, even 20, sometimes we tend to kind of not even look at it. I
Oh
can
yeah.
imagine at 13, you know, this man became like your father figure, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
you said he taught you everything from how to cook. And what was it? Did you see any signs as a 13-year-old to say,
Mm-hmm.
wait a minute, something is
Mm-hmm.
wrong here?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, I saw signs, but I didn't realize that they were signs because, you know, sometimes like we talk about the red flags, you know,
Mhm.
sometimes those red flags can look like six flags. If you really just goo goo gaga over somebody, and you see the red flags and you're just like, oh, but he really, or he's doing that because he really loves me, or he's just jealous, or he, no, that's a sign that you really need to. And there would be times that like we would argue and he would say things like, well, when I get papers on you, then that means I can beat your ass whenever I want. And, we would laugh about it. Like, it would be times we would laugh and I'd be like, whatever, never thinking in a million years that he was serious. It was just a joke because he was presenting it as a joke. So there were things like that. Once upon a time, I remember once he grabbed me, but there were not really a lot, because it was like during like that whole first year that we dated, there was barely any times that we did argue, but those times that we did, it was like, oh, okay, well, wait. But then he would always come back and like, now, and this became the norm after a while. Like, now, you deserved it because your mouth is this, or you were saying this, or you were saying that. So, you brought this on yourself, that type of thing. So I didn't really, and there was like nobody that I could call, especially once we had moved away. I mean, we got 2,000 miles away from anybody that I knew, so it wasn't like I could just pick up the phone and call somebody and be like, hey, he's beating me up, come get me. And the first time that he did hit me and I called home to my mother and I was just like, he hit me, and she was like, well, Shadonica, what did you do? I was like,
oh, wow.
Like, what do you mean? What did I do? Like,
Really?
lady. So that was the point where I realized, okay, I'm in this by myself, so I'm gonna have to figure this out.
Wow.
So there was red flags, but like I said, it was either this or stay with my drug addicted mother who was already getting abused by her husband, and ain't no telling when it was gonna start trickling down to me. So it was like, okay, I'm gonna have to handle this. I'm gonna have to figure this out.
Wow, man. Wow, I guess it's amazing. You look at some people who are home playing with doll babies, and you have some of us that's out being wives. Like, that's stuff that you think that I didn't even think that even existed. I'm thinking like that sounds like something that happens in other countries, but to know that your mother gave the permission, and I can understand probably being in that state of mind, not really, being there and present to really understand the validity of her decision, to understand exactly what she did. How is your relationship with your mom now?
We are good. I wouldn't say that we have your typical mother-daughter relationship. We've never had that.
Okay.
But we do speak, we do talk. I check on her. She's still, somewhat in that life. So I don't, we don't really see each other that often, but I do check in with her and make sure that she's okay and, things are going well with her, but we don't really have that, that mother-daughter bond, so to speak.
Gotcha.
But I will say this about my parents, like both of my parents, and I was just telling my kids this the other day. Like, I kind of had an epiphany one day when I was in the car, and I was just like thinking, like, whether they did do or they didn't do, they still got it right. Because at the end of the day, God's will be done.
Yeah.
So whatever they did or didn't do, they still got it right because I'm still here. And I became Shadonica. I became who I am today because of what they did or didn't do. So I had to get to a point in my life, which is also when I started with the glow up. I had to get to a point in my life where forgiveness really had to come into play, because I can't be the coach that I need to be for other people if I'm still walking around harboring these feelings or, animosity towards my parents for what they did or didn't do. Because at some point in the game, I did get old enough to where, okay, I know right from wrong. I know better. I got to take responsibility. So that's kind of where I am. That's where I am with both of my parents. I love them to death. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be here. So
that's amazing that you didn't allow the separation and the end of the toxic marriage between you and your husband to cause you to feel bitter. And that can be really and I guess, sometimes when you're in survival mode, you don't really have a whole lot of emotional space to kind of give to something that's not
You don't
gonna,
have time.
you don't have emotional space. So a lot of the time, most of the time, you're just trying to get through the moment. So
Yes.
that space is resolved for the next moment,
Yes,
So
exactly.
I totally get that. Would you say that in that relationship, how did it affect any of your future relationships? Because
Oh
you're
my
no longer
goodness.
married to him, so I'm assuming that you've had different relationships after that.
Mhm.
How has your previous marriage affected your relationships to this date?
I was continually in survival mode, like all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I was always waiting for the other shoe to drop. I was always ready to pick up and move. It's so crazy because I was talking to my boyfriend recently about how when at one point in time when we had lived together, I never unpacked.
Hmm.
Like I would never anywhere, like anybody I was with, like I was never really fully committed to the situation because I just always felt like something was going to happen and I was going to have to break. I was going to have to leave
Mm.
in some way, shape, or form. I was going to have to leave because when I got away from him, my first husband, when I got away from him, I ran like I was running. I got away with nothing but the clothes on my back at
Wow.
15. So I just always had that in my mind. And also coming from foster care, you got to be ready to go.
Yeah.
So I was just always ready to go. And the moment, something bad would happen, or the moment we would argue, or the moment anything would happen in any relationship, I was ready to go.
Wow.
I was just ready to go.
Wow. So would you say that it kind of caused you to kind of feel like, I mean, since all was that, is that the way it is now? Do you feel like you have gone through a process? And if you have, what process was that? And how did God play a part in you becoming the person that you are now? Because I know for me, through all the different things that I've had to experience, it, even though on the outside it was extremely bad, but
Mm-hmm.
it was also a place where I got to know God in a
Mm-hmm.
way that was undistracted, un I got to develop a relationship with him. I got an assurance of my relationship with him that I wouldn't have got any other way. And
Mm-hmm.
it has a lot of it has to do with the way I think now. I'm
Mm-hmm.
too a inspirational life and mentality coach, and it has changed. And the reason why I've become a certified mentality coach is because it takes a lot, and this as a coach, it takes a lot to process things and to get
Mm-hmm.
through things in your mind. The majority of the battles that we fight are in our mind. And
Mm-hmm.
so if we can overcome the battles that we have in our mind, then everything else that we do will become a lot easier. Everything,
Mm-hmm.
it'll be a lot easier to push forward, whether it's
Mm-hmm.
making a decision to do anything,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes making a decision just to get out the bed, you know, it,
Mm-hmm.
takes
Mm-hmm.
a mindset. And I
Mm-hmm.
talk about it in my book what happened to me, how did I get here?
Mm-hmm.
I talked about how it was gaining a perspective outside of what was going on so that I can have a window to look out of.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, because when you're going through different trials and tribulations, you're not looking really, you just feel closed in. You feel like there's no doors. You
Mm-hmm.
just sometimes feel like you can't breathe. It just seems overwhelming. But
Mm-hmm.
when you can grasp that eighth of a second to gain a little bit of perspective and say, you know what? It seemed like it just lifts you out,
Mm-hmm.
to be able to see things. Sometimes even seeing it from God's perspective takes a moment to be
Mm-hmm.
able to say, you know what, okay, maybe, yeah, this is bad, but and it could be probably extremely bad to somebody who's looking on the outside in,
Mm-hmm.
but it's my situation and there is a way out, because there,
Mm-hmm.
just like it was a way in, there's got
Mm-hmm.
to be a way out. I may have
Mm-hmm.
came in through a door, but I'm going to be looking for the window,
Yeah.
and the opportunity, which is why I made the post. I don't know if you've seen it the other day. And I said, when you see God, whenever you see God in everything, I forgot exactly how I put it, but I was
When
talking
God's hand is in everything.
when
Yeah,
God's
I saw that.
when God's
Mm-hmm.
hand is in everything, then you begin to see God's hand in everything. you know, and it doesn't mean that God causes, you know, the things that we go through, not all the time,
Right.
but he definitely through his sovereignty do allow things to shape and mold us. He
Yes.
allowed the tribulations and things that we go through to shape us. And when you realize that, you know what, I have something to look forward to. Like Jesus said, for the joy that was set before him, he endured the cross. When I saw my children, I just needed a little bit of a vision to see my way, out. I just needed a window. And I would go to that window in my mind to kind of see my way out, you know, and see my way out of different situations. It was always that window, and that window is vision.
Yes.
You know, the vision of being able to see yourself in a different place. So
definitely.
When you said you actually are a co-writer of Womb, you said the Womb
Sister Chronicles. And Womb stands for Women Overcoming Men Blues. And it's a book about women who have overcome toxic and unhealthy relationships. And there's actually 3 volumes to this book, and I'm in volume 3. And
nice.
I talk about how I got away. But the window for me, Nadira, was I was sitting in the kitchen on the floor in a corner, and I was about to slip my wrist.
Wow.
In that moment, I remembered when I was a little girl and I was being abused by my mother. And I remember thinking as a little girl, nothing is going to happen to me. This is not going to be how I leave out of this world. And in that moment that I was sitting in the corner, going to slip my wrist, that came back to me. That vision came back. Remember when you were little and you were going through that abuse? You came out of that, and you're going to come out of this.
Yeah.
And that was when, and when I tell you, when it's demons tremble at that name, it became one of those things. Like when we would argue, I would be praying out loud. Like I would pray out loud, or I would just say Jesus out loud. Like you're not going to take me out. And there were times, I'm not going to lie to you, there were times when I thought he was. And I speak about it in the book where I actually ended up stabbing him because he had came at me. He came at me at a neighbor's house. I was babysitting, and he came in, and I knew from the knock on the door that it was him. And I heard him say my name, and I was making a sandwich at the time, and I stuck the knife in my sleeve because I was like, we're done. Like, this is it. It's going to be him or me. And he dragged me out of the house, and I fell, and I hit my head on a concrete gutter, and he was kicking me. And at the time that he was kicking me, I brought the knife out, and I came back up, and I just went at him. Didn't know where I was aiming, didn't know what I was going to hit, if I was going to hit. As a matter of fact, I cut myself in the process. So you could tell I was just frantic at the time. Like, I was just, it's going to be him or me, but it's not going to be me. One way, it's not going to be me. And I ended up running, getting away, and dialing 911, and the cops showed up, and the ambulance showed up, and fire truck showed up, because I was the thing just dialing 911, just dialing. And they ended up taking me in handcuffs. And at the time I was 14, so they took me to a juvenile center. Before they took us to the hospital, because I had to get stitched up and he had to get stitched up. But then they took me to a juvenile center, and he let me sit there for 3 days until I promised that I would come home with him. And then by that time, the military, because he was in the military, and by that time, they had gotten really tired of our shenanigans, because they had been hearing things and, about how he had been doing this and doing that to me. But the military, they kind of stick together, so they didn't really do anything about it. And finally, at this point where the cops got involved and I ended up being taken away, they gave him the option of whether he could get an other than honorable discharge, or he could go to AA because he was an alcoholic. And he decided not to go to AA. He took the other than honorable discharge, which was a blessing for me. And I look at that as God showing up for me, because in that instance, we were able to come back home. And so when we got back home, we're back on home turf. I know where I'm at. I know where my people are. So boom, that was the beginning right there. But when we first got back, he kept me locked in the house for 2 months straight.
Wow.
Like, could not leave the house. Like, he went out to get my lady stuff. He went out to get clothes. He went out to get everything. And it just so happened that one of my classmates knew or found out I was back in town and reached out to me and called. And when
Mm.
she called, she had two of our other male classmates on the phone on three-way. That was back when we used to do three-way.
Wow.
And we were all just talking on the phone, catching up and whatnot. And he heard the other males' voices on the phone. And at the time, which was another blessing, he was walking around the house in his underwear. So I was fully dressed, but he was walking around in his underwear. So we're on the phone talking. When I get off the phone, he starts asking me, was she trying to hook you up with them? Was she trying to hook you up with them? And I was like, no, no, no. And I kept saying no.
Wow.
And at the time, he was drinking water or something, and he threw the water in my face. And he kept going back to the sink and getting more water. And the water just kept getting hotter and hotter and hotter.
Wow.
And I mean, this water was so hot, Nadir, like I could see the steam like coming off
Oh
my
my
face.
gosh.
And I was like, you know what?
That's that hood tap water. That's that hood tap water.
Exactly.
That hood tap water, baby, or burn you to the bones.
Yes. I was like, oh no. And so the last time he went back to get water, I took off running down the steps.
Wow.
We lived in a 2-story house with his father, and I took off running down the steps, and I had time by the grace of God to stop at the phone. And I called my aunt who lived in North Kansas City at the time. And I was just like, come and get me. I'll be running. And she was like, running where? And I was like, down for sale. Just come get me. I'm running. And I just ran out of the house. And I knew he was behind me, but I knew he would be a little ways behind me because he had to get dressed. So I'm running, and I did not look back the whole time, but I knew he was there. And finally she showed up, and I just jumped in the truck with her, and we were gone. We were gone. Wow. That wasn't the last time that I would see him, but that would be the last time that he would put his hands on me, and we were under the same roof.
Wow.
So starting over.
What was it, because I know you were doing massage therapy, and I know you were doing, where was the transition? Was it a pivotal moment that you said, you know what? I want to do coaching. I want to be a writer. I don't want to, I no longer, I don't want to go for, because, I believe that massage therapy is a form of healing. People, you can heal people, and by touching them. And, I'm a licensed esthetician. So I know, the importance of bringing mental and healing, to people just in the form of massage therapy and facials and that sort of a thing. What was the transition for you? What made you decide, okay, I'm going to decide to become a coach, a glow up coach? And then, but before you do that, I want you to explain, what does glow up mean? What exactly does that mean? Because
the glow up is the process that we grow through when we go from surviving to thriving, basically. Yeah, and that's basically what I did. Like I had to sit down and realize, it hit me that I was stuck in survival mode. And that was why I couldn't move forward. That was why my relationships weren't working, because I was stuck in survival mode, and I had to get out of that. And actually, Nadir, like, I've been coaching all my life. I just didn't know that's what it was.
Yeah.
I actually met somebody one time, and they gave me the nickname Coach, and then I was like, I don't really know, because I always wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to go to college and study psychology to become a counselor, especially after everything that I went through. And I've actually worked at battered women's shelter before. And 2016 is when I actually became certified to be a coach. But I actually started out, I'm also a licensed cosmetologist. So I started out doing hair, and then it just transitioned. Like, I stopped doing hair, and then I started doing nails. And then I started.
That's where the therapist at, right there in the beauty salon. That's where the therapist at. That's where you start while you're getting them.
Exactly.
You start sharing all the trouble you're going through. So
yeah, and people just want to talk. People just want to talk. They just want to get it out. They want to vent. And so that's how it was. And then I got into massage therapy, actually. And I tell people this all the time, and they always laugh, but I got into massage therapy through a dare from my daughter. I did. I had no interest, none of that. But my pedicure clients loved me, and they would always be like, "Oh my goodness, I would pay you to do this to my whole body." And I was like, "Ew, like, no." No. And then I was in between jobs once, and me and my daughter was sitting on the couch watching TV, and the commercial came on for the school. And she was like, Mom, I dare you to go to orientation. Well, I can't turn down a dare from my kid. She thinks I'm Wonder Woman, and I'm not going to tell her any different.
Oh,
So I'm going.
yes, of course.
So I went, and this March will be 8 years that I've been a massage therapist, and it's the longest I've ever done anything in my life. Like, I've never kept a job that long. And I had my own business for 5 years. And after this last year, I was like, I'm noticing that a lot of my clients are coming in, and before they even get on the table, we're spending like 30 minutes and they just sitting here unloading. And I was like, you know what? I need to do something with this.
Yeah.
You get paid for this.
Yeah.
So that's what made me decide to become a certified coach. And I still do massage therapy now, but I have since closed my business because I want to do coaching. I wanted to dig deeper into my coaching. So I got a coach. And that was the big turnaround for me. I got a coach and I got into a program, and it was a 3-month program. And the first thing they asked us was, who are you? And I was stuck. Because I was like, and it was supposed to be just one of those things, okay, you write it down and you go to the next question, you go to the next question. Well, I did it, and I took a personality assessment, and I didn't agree with it. So I was just kind of going back and forth with it. And then finally, I just stopped and I said, like, I really need to dig deep into this. So while everybody else is progressing in the program, I'm still stuck on who are you? So I went back to therapy.
Wow.
So I got through the program, and I tell people all the time, I didn't get what I wanted, but I definitely got what I needed, because that question is why I'm sitting right here right now, because there's no way I can call myself trying to coach somebody if I don't know who I am. So there's no way that I can talk to somebody about going from surviving to thriving if I haven't already jumped over that hurdle myself. So I had to do my self-work, and this year I finally dug deep, and I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. So I got another coach, and it was like, we were speaking the same language. Like, it was just, everything just opened up, like, just amazing. Shout out to Sean Raiz, by the way. That's my coach, and he's just amazing. And all my Branded Like a Leader family, I love y'all. He's amazing. And it's just, in this, I'm learning who I am and what I do and who I do it for and why I do it. And that's why I always start my coaching clients. We always start off with the personality assessment that I hated. But it's an amazing tool. And we always start off with that. And we always start off with the mindset, because you have to be in the right mindset. I coach my clients to go from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset, because if you're stuck in a fixed mindset, you're not going to prosper. You're not going to be successful. You're not going to be able to move forward. And you're just going to be like a hamster on one of those wheels, just going around in circles. And it comes to a point where you have to have a confrontation moment with yourself. You have to go to the mirror. So when I talk about my glow up blueprint and the board that I created, the very first thing that I put on that board, smack dab in the middle, is a mirror. Because no matter how hard you try, you cannot run away from yourself, and you cannot lie to yourself. You can try it, but it ain't going to work. It ain't going to work.
Wow. That's pretty awesome. I like that title, the Glow Up Coach. It's so befitting for you and where you've come from, and how you yourself have gone through a process that you now help other people go through. I want to talk about in our next segment, we're going to take a quick 30-second commercial break, but in our next segment, I would love to talk about I want to talk about I can't believe I just went like totally blank. My mind just went whoop, like just like somebody just snatched the thoughts out of my head, like whoop. But I'm like so amazed, because I'm listening to you. I'm like stunned. I'm like, as I'm talking to you, the questions are coming, and I'm like, wow, this is amazing. Like, I'm just like still stuck at the 13-year-old wife. And now I'm looking at how you're where you are, and you have a smile on your face, and you're smiling on the inside. You haven't allowed your circumstances and the things that you've gone through to hinder you from becoming the person that you are. I want to talk about in the third segment, about some of the things that I know you gave us, like I just like my brain just like I just had a whole slew of questions and I just went into the dumb brain just like just like that. But it's going to come back to me. Hopefully after this commercial. But I also, in the last segment, want to give an opportunity for engagement, for people to engage with us. So I want to make it known. And if you're okay with it, I want to give other people the opportunity to ask us questions. And ask us, I want you to be able to answer some questions, and both of us address, since we're both coaches and we've been through a number of things, and we've not only just gone through things, but we've kind of, allowed God to bring us to a point to where we can be in position to help other people. So I want to use the last segment to kind of give others an opportunity to ask us questions and be able to answer them on the air, if you're okay with that. This is something new.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I will see you, and my brain, hopefully it'll come back by the time, by the time I come back from this commercial, but we'll see you after 30 seconds.
All right.
All right, we are back on Sisterhood Check-In with my special guest, the Glow Up Coach, Shadonica Williams, and we are excited. We've been talking over the past 46 minutes about her life as a 13-year-old wife, her life as a child, her life as a teenager, and relationships. So we are in our last segment of the show, and I really wanted to give, I know that we've had, Shadonica, we've had a slew of comments come in that I really wanted to take the time to acknowledge. Sabrivia Scott said, hey Sabrivia.
Hey, I love that name.
Isn't it beautiful? It's amazing because Sabrivia Scott and I went to school when we were in like middle school. And she has the most beautiful voice. I never forget, during those little school plays, and she was saying, I'm going up. It's amazing because every time I see her and I see her face, I think about that middle school concert when she was singing, I'm going up the yonder. I thought that was thank you, Sabrivius, for reaching out. If you guys want to engage, you have any questions for me or Shadonica, make sure you just put them in the comments and we'll answer them as we get them. Khadija also says hi. Hi, Khadija.
Hi, Khadija.
And we also have Elise. Elise,
that's my daughter. Hey, daughter.
Hi, Elise. And we also have my aunt, Rosalind Chambers. Hi, Auntie.
Hi.
She's watching us. Alonda also says hello. I've known Alonda since she was a kid back in New Jersey. And we also have Stacy. She mentioned that a greater purpose in your pain for your trials, and God uses your trials to make you strong. Absolutely. It's amazing because some people don't make it through their trials and tribulations. Some people get discouraged, and some people give up because they can't deal with the pain of it. So my intent is, in doing this show is to be able to bring us, to be a source of encouragement, to be to bring sisterhood together, where we could talk about, different things that we've gone through and be able to help each other,
Yes.
Be able to get through those difficult moments. Because I know for me, when I went through the things that I went through, and I've always had some, God has always positioned somebody to be there. And in those moments when you don't have anybody, He is an ever-present help.
Yes.
He is an present help. And I have learned that that no matter what I go through, that of all the relationships that I have, the most important relationship is my relationship with God. The most
Amen.
important thing that I want to remember in everything that I do, whether it's in business or whether it's in, being a mother or being a friend. Most importantly, I want I want the awareness of who God is in my life to be
Mhm.
present. I wanted to be
Mhm.
present in my conversation, present in the way I talk, present in the way the way I walk and the way I behave,
Mhm.
which is why I started an inspirational line, inspirationalbeauty.store, where I say, don't just say it, wear it,
Yeah.
let it,
And that's what I tell people about the glow up. Like, this is not just a catchphrase. This is a lifestyle.
right. A life.
You have to become that. And
Mhm.
then a lot of people want to skip over those becoming steps. And you can't
Right.
skip those steps. No matter how difficult they are, how trying they may be, you can't skip those steps. You got to go through the
Mhm.
process, and you have to trust it
Yeah.
and respect it at the same time, because
Yeah.
it's God that's getting us through that. So you
Yeah.
have to trust that. And then that's why I talk about the foundation. Like, you got to get back to that foundation.
Mhm.
You have to trust the process and grow through it.
Mhm.
Grow through it,
Absolutely.
because
I really love
somebody needs you. Somebody is waiting on you. And I tell
that.
that story about my clients. Like, I have the opportunity and the honor to be a part of a lot of people's birthdays. And
Mhm.
one day I went to work and I had a major attitude, because I really didn't want to be there. I had a major attitude, and I was waiting. And this lady, I go into the waiting area, and there was this little lady sitting there, and she had these flowers and this card. And I saw her taking her little selfies. It was her birthday, and she was like,
Mm.
"I'm just so excited to see you. Every time somebody asks me what I want for my birthday, I always tell them I want to come and see you." And so that's why I tell
Mm.
people, somebody's waiting on you. So show up.
Yes. Yes.
And when you show up, make sure when you show up, you got this smile.
Mm.
Don't be distracted by the distractions. Show
Mm.
up and glow up. Like,
Mm.
somebody's waiting on you, and you never know what that person was going through that day, or what they've been through their lives. And this
Mhm.
might be that one thing that puts a smile on their face or makes them happy. So I
Yes.
I I, I chucked my attitude, and I brought her on in, and it was a wonderful thing. And that's one of the great things I love about being a massage therapist, is the fact that I get to have an impact on
Mm.
people's lives. It's not, I tell people all the time, it's not about the income, it's about the impact. Because if I make an impact, the income's gonna come. Like I tell people all the time, I don't chase money. No, it chases me, because I'm making an impact and I'm providing value.
Mm.
And that's what I try to
Yes.
do with my coaching clients as well. I give it all. I give it all.
I agree. I so agree with that concept, because I've realized, starting out, your desire is always to create a business. You want to, especially if you have an entrepreneurial mindset, is always, how can I start a business? How can I do this to bring? But then I started to realize in my pursuit of entrepreneurship is I didn't want to do anything that took me away from who I was. I didn't want It was almost as if the purpose that God had for me, I
Mhm.
desired more of his will for my life more than I did to just doing something just because, which is why normally when I get involved with something, it takes me a moment I have to think about it. I can't I'm not like other people in a sense of just being able to put things up and just go. I really battle with even doing this for a very, very long time, because I wanted to make sure my motives were right. I wanted to make sure my heart was pure. I wanted to make sure my intent was pure. I wanted to make sure that I had resources, that I was going to be providing resources that was going to truly help people. And because one thing I've learned even in the business world is that when you bring value to
Mhm.
people, then you don't have to worry about
Exactly.
how it's going to be reciprocated, because you don't have to go. People will look for you when you just focus on providing value
And
and
being authentic.
being authentic, and growing in the process and keeping an ear open for what God wants to do through you. Then when you shift that focus, it's funny because I want to read this. I was reading this right before you came on, and I was just thinking about this, and I said I was going to do like a separate, because my plan is I have some other things that I want to do I just want to be able to create value, and in exchange for that value, you know what I'm saying? I want people to be blessed. I want people to grow, because I know we're living in a day and time where it's tough. People are struggling just to get through the day. People are losing their jobs left and right. And I want to be able to provide different opportunities, you know, whether it's business opportunities or just growth. I'm starting a biblical mentoring program that's going to start in January. It's called Biblical Womanhood, and we're gonna go through everything from identity, to figuring out from identity as a person. Because if you don't, like you said, if you don't deal with you first, then introducing you to anything else that could benefit you is not going to really matter, because it's only going to be like you're putting it on a pile of junk. So we, through this mentoring program, I want to kind of, break through some mental barriers that keep us as women because God built us to be strong women. Just look at in the natural, the things that we're able to endure as a woman. I mean, we can carry babies, sometimes multiple, triple babies. We have been built to endure so much. God has entrusted us with so much. And we go through things in our mind, and we'll sometimes push through. But it's almost like I said in the previous broadcast, is that sometimes you keep going until that moment that you stop and you feel like everything is crumbling on us. And so I want to be able to take some time and help alleviate and be able to point people in a direction, and most importantly, point them back to God. Because above all, it doesn't matter what kind of business plan you have, what kind of coach you are first you are first a minister, ministering to people. And because they're not going to want to hear what you have to say until they know that you care. And ways of showing that you care is being able to meet them where they are and being able to find out I may not be able to give you, what you ask for, but I will provide you resources on how you can get what you need, And so sometimes people aren't even happy with that, because people sometimes when you're hurting, you just want what you want when you want it, and that's it. And then people get upset at you when you have to tell them, okay, look, I know you hungry and you want to eat, and I can give you some fish to eat now, but I'm going to teach you how to fish so that you're not, I want to teach you how to fish so you're not always, so you
don't get hungry again.
Position to where you're asking and stuff like that, because these are things that I had to learn. And I, sometimes just the mindset is, when I needed help financially, it's not that I didn't know how to make money. Sometimes your mind sometimes just in a place, and you just can't focus to position yourself to do what you need to do to be able to generate the money that you generate. But I wanted to read this. This was like pretty, I found this and I was reading this as you came, and I think I closed my book. So hopefully I'll be able to find it, because if my Bible fell, and I'm like, darn it, where did it go? Let me see if I can find it, because I did look at the chapter before I left. So hopefully, I can be able to find it. Okay. In Psalms chapter 10, verse 11, it says, I trust in the Lord for protection. So why do you say to me, fly like a bird to your mountain? Like hunters, the wicked string their bows. They set their arrows on the bow strings. They shoot from dark places at those who are honest. When the foundations for good collapse, what can good people do? The Lord is in his holy temple. The Lord sits on his throne in heaven. He sees what people do. He keeps his eye on them. The Lord tests those who do right, but he hates the wicked and those who love to hurt others. He will send hot coals and burning sulfur on the wicked. A whirlwind is what they'll get. The Lord does what is right, and he loves justice. So honest people will see his face. I really want to encourage you guys to, the Bible says, don't be weary in well-doing, for in due season you will reap if you faint not. And I want you to understand that no matter what it is that you go through, that his eyes are always watching. The eyes of the Lord are upon the earth, beholding the good and the evil. He sees the things that you're having to endure. He sees the things that you deal with. And he is an ever-present help in time of trouble. So we must not forget that even in the midst, the best coaching you can get is from the Holy Spirit. The best counseling you can get is in your private prayer time with God. That's the best counsel. Shadonica and I can only do what God gives us the ability to through in his grace. We can't do anything without him.
That's right.
We can't coach without him. We can't encourage anybody without him. We can encourage from our natural strength, but when the Holy Spirit allows us to, the Holy Spirit does things that we aren't even able to do. You know, we're just vessels we're just vessels God just uses us to accomplish his will in the earth, and not just us, among a lot of people. You know, there's a lot of people, you have talent, you have gifts, you have things that God has placed on the inside of you that he wants to do in you, but you have to go through that process. You know, that process is what helps us kind of, journaling is I want to talk about too, is how important was journaling in this whole journey for you?
Oh my gosh. That was actually the beginning of it, because I've always been a writer. I was introduced to journaling when I was about 8 years old, when I first went into foster care. And we used to go to a counselor, and she used to have us draw pictures a lot. And then finally one day, I think it might have been Christmas or something like that, and she gave me a diary. And I was like, what am I supposed to do with this? And she was like, you could just write down your thoughts. And when she told me that, I was like, whoa, what? You mean I can write down my thoughts and nobody's going to read it? Nobody's going to no, this is just yours. This is just for you. And that was the beginning of it for me. And when I tell you, I've kept a journal ever since then. I always write in journals. I keep a journal now. I keep notes in my phone now. And it's so important because you can go back and reflect. I'm real big on reflection. I'm real big on going back and seeing how far I've come, and it took me a minute to get to that point, because at first I would go back and read and be like, I would feel a way, like, but then as I got older and I started going through this process of working on myself, I'm like, no, like I made it through that. I came through that, so, okay, this is good. I'm not in the same place I was in when I was there. So reflection is a really big thing for me. And I encourage anybody to journal. Journaling is very therapeutic, very therapeutic.
Absolutely. I agree with that. I know for me, I had I would go through moments of journaling. I would have to be in a place emotionally, and then I would start writing. Like, I wasn't like at a place where I would get up every day and journal everything that I say. But when I would get to certain pivotal points in my emotions, and I would feel the need to write into it was a sense of therapy for me.
Yes.
And I go back and I look at my writings and I go, oh my gosh, like, wow, like I wrote that, like what I said that, like, that is that really what was going on in my heart at the time? I was like, really like, wow. So I agree. I agree that journaling is a very huge part of the healing process of being able to reflect and to go back. I've given the opportunity for anybody who we don't have any questions. So I was opening up the floor for anybody that wanted to come on and ask us a question. I was given the opportunity to do that, but unfortunately we don't have any questions yet, but that doesn't mean that they're not brewing. They're not right. So if we don't get to them right away, if you still leave them in the comments, we will definitely get to them. And again, it'll be something that I'll add to the broadcast every Friday. Just something I just was thinking, as a form of engagement, because we don't want to just be talking at you. We want to talk to you. Right. We want to know, your testimony. We want to know, how are you getting through? I know it's Thanksgiving weekend and everybody's, probably spending time, with little family that they do have. But I'm really grateful that you took the opportunity to come back on Sisterhood Check-In, and we'd love to always have you again at some moment when you get time, because I know you're busy, you busy over here coaching folks and stuff and rubbing backs and stuff like that and getting them. So I just am so grateful to be able to have you and to know you, Shadonica. You are a source of inspiration, and I thank God for you.
Thank
What
you
my
so
last
much.
thing is, no problem. What would you like to say? What would you say? And I always ask this to every guest. What would you say to your younger self when you look at where you are right now? What advice would you give to your younger self?
Keep going. Keep going, and it's gonna be okay.
Mm,
I was built for this. I was created for this.
mm,
So yeah. And I heard somebody say one time, this is why it's so important to get in the word. It's
mm,
so important because you can find out who God says you are.
mm,
Because if you go to anybody else other than your manufacturer, they're
mm-hmm,
going to tell you that you're broken,
mm,
and you're not. So just keep going. Trust the process. Pay attention to who God says you are.
mm,
Don't let anybody define who you are.
mm,
And take these obstacles and take these trials and build on them.
mm,
Build on that, because you were created for this. You were built for this.
mm.
You were meant to be here.
Yes. Wow. That's
Definitely.
amazing. All right. Well, Shadonica, again, it was such a blessing for all, for all of you that are here and have been, had the opportunity to listen to Shadonica. You've got to go to her website, ShadonicaWilliams.com, the glow up coach. And as she has an abundance of resources to help you to be able to get through anything, whether it's whether it's emotional, whether it's business or career oriented. She is the one to go to. And you can also, if you guys, I wanted to also share this as I do it at the end of every broadcast. If you or someone would like to be on a show and share your testimony of how you have gotten through, make sure you send me an email at becomingawomanofproverbs@gmail.com, and we will look at your testimonial and we'll get you on the show. Also, I'm just going through my list of things. If you haven't already gotten my book, make sure you go to bit.ly/signed by Nadira. What happened to me? How did I get here? I promise you the book will be a blessing. So make sure that you go by and check out. Today is Friday. I know, you've probably been out shopping, doing your thing, but don't forget to stop. Don't forget to go to inspirationalbeauty.store and get your inspirational gear. Wintertime, fall is coming. It's already here. So you're going to spend the money anyway on buying your sweatshirts and all that other stuff. So check out inspirationalbeauty.store for your inspirational gear. All our sweaters are starting at $19.95. Make sure, I don't know if you've ever heard of this, but I'm telling you, Color Street. Make sure you check out Sharifa's Fabulous Nails on Facebook. She is amazing with her. She has a business and it's basically pertaining to you being able to do your nails without having to go and get your nails done. You just put them on your nails and you just have like an automatic manicure. I mean, it's amazing. So make sure you support. We're here to support each other.
Yeah.
Make sure you go and visit her at Sharifa's Fabulous Nails on Facebook. So thank you so much for tuning in. And again, if you have any questions, leave it in the comments and we'll get back to you. And until next time, I remember always say, hurt people, but transform people can transform people too. Have a blessed week.